Kingdom Hearts 3 is easily one of the worst games I've ever had the displeasure of beating. Usually, I'm the kind of guy who tries out a TV show for a few episodes, and if I'm not feeling it, I'm out. Same for video games. But after falling in love with the series after my first 2 reviews, the Stockholm Syndrome took over and forced me to finish the franchise that I've come to love. This is my review on Kingdom Hearts 3. Let me start off by saying, I experienced this game's story as a new, casual fan who had only played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 beforehand, and while obviously this is going to on some level change how you understand and digest the plot, I don't think it's that crazy to say that wouldn't have mattered either way. Going from Kingdom Hearts 1 straight to 2, I skipped an entire side game with a lot of integral plot elements, and yet I still 100% understood everything that was happening in 2. The story never confused or bored me. I knew most of what was going on, with the things I missed in Rechain of Memories feeling more like side content that I was able to learn about afterwards. Kingdom Hearts 3, on the other hand, both in part due to its reliance on 6 other games and its flawed approaches to storytelling, had me feeling not just confused, but completely disinterested in what was going on. Instead of Kingdom Hearts 2, where the plot was, there's an evil organization who wants to open Kingdom Hearts, the plot is instead overshadowed by you trying to know who the fuck all these dead people with new names are. Oh, this guy's the guy from Kingdom Hearts 2, but now he looks like this, and this is his name, and we're gonna do this for every character even though none of them are important and can just be replaced with anybody. And then even worse, the Xehanorts. This is Xehanort. He's from the future, but also he went back to the past, so now there's this version who's from the past, young Xehanort, and this version who's just nobody, Xemnas, and he's hanging out with Ansem, who of course is Xehanort's Heartless. Also, he's kind of Xigbar, but also kind of not. And also there's Terra Xehanort, who is Terra from Birth by Sleep, but Puerto Rican. Now imagine what I just said, but stretched out into 20 hours and somehow even more confusing than the way I explained it. It's reasonable that you'd want to explain all this stuff to someone like me, who just plays the mainline games, but it's done so poorly that it wastes the time of people who already know all this stuff and confuses the people who are just trying to get into the meat of the story. Throughout the 7 trillion explanations of every character and their backstory, I was never as knowledgeable as when I just went into the in-game logbooks and read the lore. I swear, man, I paid attention to every single second of this game's story, and the only thing I can remember is the stupidest, most unimportant bullshit. This game is so full of nonsense and stuff that's just completely unimportant to the plot. Every character, location, and plot device feels so incredibly over-explained and takes away from the pacing. I'd honestly rather they just said, okay, this guy is this way, we're moving on now. Once you do finally get to the end after 20 to 30 hours, it feels like as much happened as the first 2 hours of the previous games. Cutscenes. One of the most important parts of an RPG. In the first 2 games, cutscenes often consisted of JPEGs plastered on the characters' faces, imitating speech, with more important scenes upping it to full facial animations, which looked great, especially in 2. In Kingdom Hearts 3 though, ugh. Everyone is so stiff and unalive. It's like watching an AI try to recreate an episode of One Piece or something. When Sora, oh, that's how they got the name for that. When Sora smiles, I'm so aware that I'm watching a 3D model smile. When someone is emotional, you just imagine them reading the script and speaking into a mic. There are no people, no heroes, monsters, villains, allies. There's only actors in booths recording lines. Everything is so amazingly unnatural and forced sounding. Long pauses, awkward staring, cartoonish interactions, and goddamn, the voice acting is bad. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and act like Kingdom Hearts has ever had Oscar-level performances, but just look at this, man.
They don't change, do they?
Nope, that's their best quality.
Well, we gave Merlin the vestments for Kairi and Axel. Let's go stop by Ansem the Wise's study.
Right.
I bet I could do better than this.
They don't change, do they?
I can't tell if it's the actors, the production team, or both.
Oh, that's my real name. Eugene Fitzherbert.
That's different. I think it's a great name.
Me too.
Fuck you! The graphics, animation, music, and voice acting are all shiny, new, and expensive, but one thing you couldn't buy Square Enix? Soul. This game, literally based on the concept of Hearts, has no soul. Okay, unlike the first 2 games, which have stuck with me and I remember completely, I kind of forgot a lot of this game's plot. Let me go on Wikipedia for a little refresher. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Okay, I guess I'll talk about it a little bit at least. Basically, Xehanort is this old guy who created Organization 13 and is the real form of Ansem and Xemnas from the first 2 games. But as it turns out, the Organization 13 from before was actually a fake Organization 13, which totally doesn't trample on the identity it had in previous entries. Don't even worry about that. Xehanort wants to make a real Organization 13 with a bunch of different versions of him so he can recreate an old event called the Keyblade Ward and get the Keyblade, which is spelt with an X, of course. But not only does Xehanort need the real Organization 13, he needs Sora to get a specific amount of Keyblade users so they can start the war. So Sora has to learn the power of waking, which he forgot at the end of a 3DS game that everyone hates apparently. So the whole game is you as Sora going around and trying to, and failing, to learn the power of waking until Sora says, "Fuck it, we ball," and shows up to fight Xehanort and kills him. I think everything that happens with Xehanort steps all over the great stuff that happened in the first 2 games. The organization being redone, Ansem and Xemnas being back after you defeated them, and turning previously awesome characters into his lackeys. I really don't like Xehanort at all. His final boss fight was pretty cool, which I'll talk about later, but other than that, I think he is just infinitely more complicated and yet infinitely less interesting than his counterparts. Also, his voice is weird. Why is it so light? It should be more like, "I'm fucking evil and this time I'm old." You may have noticed, we're a few minutes into the video and I haven't even brought up Disney yet. I wonder why that is. Dog shit! It may sound crazy what I'm about to say. This game's worlds are its biggest problem. What did these guys do? Literally one of my biggest praises of the original games was that all the worlds were fun, unique, and quickly paced, keeping the gameplay fresh and the plot moving constantly. Even if a world was mediocre or even bad, it would be over in 30 minutes anyways. But apparently the developers of this game went 6 years into the future, watched my videos, and made every world way too long because they don't like me. Completely slaughtering the characters and universe I love is one thing, but making the game boring too? Why would you do this to me? Why would you do this to me? Instead of 30 to 60 minute bite-sized adventures, this game opts to make every single world 2 hours. And while every world is bigger and much more visually impressive, there's some problems that come with this. When the game first starts off, you go straight back into Olympus. In the first 2 games, Olympus was always a pretty small world where most of your time would be taken up by fighting challenges in the different Colosseums. In this game, on the other hand, oh my god. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, that's amazing. This game looks great. Why don't people like this? Okay, now let's get to the bad part. Before you get to do all of this awesome stuff, there is so much filler. It could be said that this is a tutorial world and therefore it makes sense for there to be some introductory fillery stuff at first for new players, but honestly, I don't even think that matters for what I'm saying here. This is ironically one of the shorter worlds in the game, so the filler here is actually less than usual. Luckily though, this is so early in the game that it didn't really do anything but just kind of bore me a little bit. Even with all of this slow stuff at the start, the scenery is so beautiful here with so much open space to run around in. It really makes Olympus feel like a real place rather than just a small area you can run around in like the previous games. It's still not good, but you can find the good in it. The other worlds, on the other hand, take this boring part, stretch it out double, and don't add any new stuff for you to have fun with. For example, Toy Story is among one of the best animated series of all time, and it's one I spent my whole childhood watching. Woody, Buzz, Mr. Potato Head, RC, Sarge, Alien, Rex, Slinky, Evil Woody, Evil Buzz. Something really cool about this game I've never seen talked about is that they got most of the original voice actors for these roles. There's some surprisingly huge people here, like Kristen Bell as Anna, Josh Gad as Olaf, the whole cast of Big Hero 6, and Professor Sturgis from Young Sheldon. Of course, they couldn't get people like Tom Hanks or Buzz Lightyear, but that's cool. Sadly, even with all this talent, the whole cast sounds like they want to kill themselves. Anyways, Toy Box. Toy Box is easily one of the best worlds in this game, but I still think it fails miserably. You start off in this awesome recreation of Andy's room. It's so open and you really feel like a toy. You can run around the ball from Pixar, jump up and down on Andy's bed. Look at those bed physics. Every single detail from the movies are done to a T. It really makes you feel like a toy, and even though it's so small, it's so much fun to see for the first time. I'm getting excited just typing it in the script. Jump out the house! Then you walk from Andy's home to the toy store down the street, and man, it's so simple, but just look at how cool it is. I'm actually a toy here. I have turned into a toy in real life. It's so simple, but these moments with these awesome landscapes you get to walk around in are truly incredible. It's such a shame that the pacing is bad, because if the game was just this back to back, it would be such a better experience. Then you show up at the toy store. What? Wait, what? Why is it not Al's Toy Barn? 3 floors, 6 sections. You go through each section with each taking 5 to 20 minutes each, and all of them are pretty fun. But herein lies the problem. Once you're done with each section and all the cutscenes and boss fights, you are at almost exactly 2 hours runtime, with the stuff before the toy store being like 10 minutes. This is the problem with every world of the game. While it's fine, I don't find this gameplay entertaining enough to justify running around the same area over and over with no environmental differences or major changes in gameplay. At the end of the day, most of this world is just fighting on the ground like normal or fighting in a big robot. You know how in a game like Donkey Kong Bonanza, there's those little challenges where you hop in for a minute, finish it, and say, that was fun, then move on? Imagine just doing that same challenge for 2 hours straight, and every time you finish it, the characters have a 6-minute long cutscene where they don't shut the fuck up. Sadly, for most of the game, this kind of gameplay cycle doesn't get better, but worse, with only 2 real exceptions that I can think of. I'm not talking about these, it's later. I'm putting Arendelle and Corona Kingdom together because they're pretty much the exact same. I always see hate online for the Frozen world in this game because it's all the same and just repeating the plot of the movie, which is 100% true, don't get me wrong, but Tangled is also that. The only things Tangled has over Frozen is a better boss fight, minigame, and environment. Other than that though, I genuinely have nothing to say about these two. Imagine being so boring that I can't even find something interesting to criticize about you, Jesus. Monsters Inc. is the same as Toy Story for me. A movie that I think is great with an original storyline cooked up just for the game. But unlike Toy Box, I think this world sucks complete ass, like really, really bad. While the worst parts of Toy Box at least have you exploring around slightly different zones of one big cool area, Monsters Inc. instead has you running around an extremely generic factory setting. The iconic doors are there and the scream canisters, but other than that, this is just a factory. While this is fine at first, the mix of this along with absolutely zero variety in gameplay makes this world an absolute slog to get through. There's no dancing, no snow slide, no robot fights. This entire world is just back-to-back fighting for 2 hours, with some of the most generic and boring scenery in the entire franchise. This world was a massive disappointment, especially since it came in the later stages of the game. I don't just find it boring like Corona Kingdom or Arendelle, or horribly paced by Toy Box. It's every single flaw of this game turned into one bad world. Twilight Town was a bit of a bummer for me in this game as well. At first I was amazed seeing this iconic location be turned into something modern, but as you explore it more, you realize, unlike most other worlds in this game, it's actually a shell of its former self and comes off much less alive. This makes sense since it isn't nearly as relevant to the rest of the game as it was in Kingdom Hearts 2, but it still made me a bit sad. There's tons of people around the town and everything is really detailed and pretty, but a large part of what gave Twilight Town its aesthetic was the limitations at the time, creating this seemingly empty town baked in nostalgia and somberness, but now it's just some random town. It seriously feels like a cardboard cutout of the original. Back in Kingdom Hearts 2, you could go all the way to the train station and go to a completely different area, separate from the town. You could also go to the mansion or skate all around the place, but in Kingdom Hearts 3, you can't go to the other side of town. You can't go to the train station. You can't go inside the mansion. Sure, everything is shinier and bigger or whatever, but it has no depth. The only pro I'd give this Twilight Town is the Ratatouille minigame, which is really cool. Throughout the game, you can collect ingredients and help Remy cook something to give you stat boosts and stuff. It's pretty fun. Outside the restaurant that Remy works at is the 100 Acre Wood, which I actually see people dog on a ton, but in my opinion, it's fine. You mostly just do little Candy Crush type ripoffs with Winnie and friends. They're actually decently fun and the whole world only takes like 30 minutes. I will say, if I had to wait 13 years for this, I'd be disappointed, but I don't think the original Winnie the Pooh minigames were really that insane to begin with. I just realized this game has so few worlds I can actually talk about them all in depth. Big Hero 6 has yet another game original plot where Sora and the gang basically just join Big Hero 6 and do obstacles and fight enemies out in the open. This one's fine. There's nothing egregious here, but it's painfully boring and doesn't even have content from the movies to carry it. You just go around and do missions for a bit. Other than the small open world it gives you to run around in with nothing to do, by the way. It feels like this whole thing was made in a day. Oh my god. My least favorite world in Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite world in Kingdom Hearts 3. That's what this is. We're in some kind of reverse bizarro world. Unlike all the other worlds where content was repeated over and over or simply spread thin, Pirates of the Caribbean instead takes the flaw of a 2-hour-long world and fills it with, while simple, unique and fun gameplay styles and areas to explore. It begins in this huge empty sand area where Sora, Donald, and Goofy look super gritty and realistic in comparison to usual. Then you get to run throughout this huge open desert which looks really cool. After that, that, you get to explore a big, beautiful ocean, swim, fight flying bird things in the sky, battle with pirate ships, collect clams. This world pushes the game to its graphical and design limits, and I'm all for it. Nothing here is absolutely insane, but there's always something new around the corner, which is much more reminiscent of what makes Kingdom Hearts such a fun franchise. Also, this is the one world where the cutscenes feel pretty few and far between, and they tend not to take themselves too seriously, which is ironic if you take in the fact that this is the darkest world in the game considering it's a movie. All in all, I love this world. Definitely my favorite. I could see myself loading up the game just to play around on the pirate ship here or there. I think the stories in these areas are kind of dumb, but gameplay-wise, they're pretty dang cool. Keyblade Graveyard is the apex of what's been happening. That's a fucking crazy word. The Keyblade Graveyard is the apex of what's been the Kingdom Hearts trilogy, and it's really awesome. Having all the important characters in the series collide in this big, empty desert of Keyblades looks sick. Not to mention, the gameplay cycle of going from boss fight to boss fight is pretty neat. You and a few other teammates go up against multiple organization members at once, which power scaling wise hurts me. But the actual fights that go on here are nice. They're mostly just redos of previous battles in the series, but it works well for what it is. What I don't like is the story that goes on during this part. It feels like every time something is about to go wrong, a character magically appears and says, "I'm here to save you." But it's whatever. Honestly, after writing so much of this video already and getting all this trauma off my chest, I have no enemies. This cycle of team fights goes on a few times and ends in the final battle with Xehanort. How do you even say that? Scala ad Calum is such a cool environment to fight in. This massive city that Xehanort comes from, fighting against like 20 clones of him and then finally him by himself at the very end was just yummy. The name Scala ad Calum the name Scala ad Calum by itself is so cool. This place was teased at the very beginning of the game with these two boys playing chess, and finally coming here after feeling like it was this mystical, unreachable place was really awesome. There's such a thick essence of tension in the air. It feels almost like you've been taken somewhere you're not supposed to be. After defeating Xehanort, you find out he was one of the boys playing chess, and it finishes with this sweet moment that's honestly one of my favorite parts of the game, even if I felt a little bit confused during it. Oh my god, it's Kingdom Hearts 1 again. All in all, these final areas, once they get past all the filler at the beginning where Sora dies and everyone comes back to life, are good. I feel like there's tons of issues with them, but after a game filled with those same problems, it feels good to just have a nice finale fight at the end. Most of the game has you going to different worlds, doing different events and mini games. That much is obvious. What I want to talk about mainly is the combat. For me, the combat in this game is a mixed bag. While there are certain things that put it above the other games, there's a lot of smaller nitpicks that I also have. A big complaint for me is with the new party member system. Unlike in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, where you'd have to switch out Donald or Goofy in order to use the new party member for that world, in this game, they just put them off to the side and you have all 4 or 5 of them in your party, which is actually sick. Not only does this let you have up to 5 party members at a time, it allows you to actually play with Donald and Goofy for the whole game. The problem with allies though, they're all such shells of their former selves, especially the ones outside of your main party. In Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, every party member would gain unique abilities over time which power them up and let you do things like combos with them. However, in this game, they've been pretty much completely removed. Donald and Goofy feel like shells of their former selves, only unlocking an ability once in a blue moon, with it usually being pretty underwhelming. I mean, just look at the list of abilities that Sora has, and then the list of abilities that Donald and Goofy have. And the extra party members are even worse. They all start off with literally the exact same loadout every single time. No changing characters' abilities and upgrades uniquely. Nope. These NPCs are robots that fight alongside you and happen to look like a Disney character. It's such a blatantly stupid mistake. Such a big part of RPGs is being able to upgrade and level up, so why shy out on that in the third entry? It makes everything feel so cheap. Same thing with attractions. While cool on paper, like, oh crap, I'm on a ride at Disney, these attacks get used over and over throughout the game. While I'm not as big of a hater on these as most people are, I'm okay with them. But I do prefer the old style. Doing Twister thing with Riku, Twister thing with Final Fantasy X guy, other example. Most of the time those were unique to each character and it made them feel more alive. Attractions are also really strong. Combo attacks in previous games were okay, but never really did that much when I used them. Attractions, on the other hand, are completely overpowered. You are always having multiple combo attacks and attractions light up at once, making every fight just pressing triangle. It got to a point where I just stopped using them so I could actually fight the enemies. Difficulty really is a problem in this game. I heard before playing this that it was too easy, so I put it on hard difficulty difficulty, and man, I don't know if I died once outside of the final boss fight. Everything is so easy to kill due to all the tools at your disposal. You always have ways to heal, either from yourself or your 4 party members, attractions that will make you invincible and one-shot everything, and the enemies are just straight up weak. Another massive flaw with this game, in my opinion, is the enemy spawning, by the way. They literally just keep coming forever and ever. It gets so drawn out and boring having to fight 5 different waves of the same enemies just to pass through one area. It's really something you take for granted because I would never think about enemy spawn rates in the first 2 games or any other game. It's just so drawn out here. However, on the positive side of things, Sora is very fun to control. Sora's movement in this game is a solid compromise between 1 and 2, being floaty like Kingdom Hearts 1 and fast like Kingdom Hearts 2. With the aforementioned attractions and team attacks, you can do shit like comboing a big enemy, pulling out Sora's special weapon, doing its finishing animation, and then topping it all off with an attraction or team attack. While it can sometimes feel monotonous to just spam special moves, the amount of comboing it allows is pretty fun to pull off, even if it does make the game a little bit too easy. Notice that thing I said about Sora having a special weapon? Oh, like in previous games, beating a world unlocks Sora a new Keyblade, and this time around it gives him these awesome weapon exclusive attacks and forms. My favorite is the High Wind, where Sora pulls out this big ass spear and does tons of damage, and then rains down sticks from all over the sky, and then makes it go even further into a flag that you bash enemies with, and then even further into a final special blast where you piss all over everyone. Depending on the world you just beat, you either get a magic-centric Keyblade or a power-centric Keyblade, and I always love power, so it was really exciting every 2 worlds to see what new cool designed Keyblade and Keyblade specials I'd get to pull off. Thank you, Jack Sparrow. No. At the end of the day, I personally feel like Kingdom Hearts 3 is a massive disappointment in comparison to the rest of the franchise. It would be one thing if you waited 3 or so years and it turned out to be mediocre, but for a game to so disrespectfully trample on and destroy everything the series has made great, all the while providing very little fun as its own game, after over a decade of waiting, I think this game is just bad. Not only do I find Kingdom Hearts 3 to be a horrible show of storytelling, but I think as a video game, it very often fails to deliver on what makes the franchise great. Exciting worlds, great music, fun combat encounters, and most importantly, heart. I am severely disappointed with this game, and for now I'm going to have to give it 4 out of 10 Riku voice lines. Sorry, Riku. Did you enjoy the video? Did you enjoy Kingdom Hearts 3? Whether you did or not, let me know in the comments and suggest what game I should cover next. I post every Wednesday, so like and subscribe and share and comment. And like and subscribe and share. A long ass video.